Would Ken Ham be the person you think has the potential to do the most harm then, out of, you know, the usual suspects like Kent Hovind, Ken Ham, what's his banana boy, was not Matt Powell, the other,
Ray Comfort.
Yeah, Ray Comfort. I can never remember his name. You know, is there one you think is more harmful?
Well, the ones who, I think there's a certain set of harm that comes from holding any sort of religion, even to the extent that even if it's Jainism, and you know you're not actually doing any harm. I think there's some harm you're doing by holding a false view. So I think there's some level of harm that happens with just religiosity of any sort. And then, of course, so all the Christian apologists I would lump into, they're holding people into a belief that I don't think is true and therefore causing harm. But
yeah,
the ones that, and obviously there's the obvious harm, right? There's the people who are trying to legislate rights away from trans people or queer people, or wanting to enforce abortion laws or any kind of law. That's a certain type of harm. But the insidious kind of harm that I think where you and I are on the same page a little bit about is the anti-science harm that comes with young Earth creationism.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything inherently anti-science that believing the Earth is 6 years old, that you have to therefore be anti-science. But what happened in my experience and what I see over and over in building my audience and talking to my audience is that in order to shore up this 6,000 years, they have to disparage scientists and the whole scientific endeavor so much to discredit evolution that they end up undermining this groups of people, their faith in science at all. And we see that in terms of not wanting to be vaccinated or not even willing to be listened to basically distrusting anything any scientist says, climate change, health. In the city I lived in Calgary up until recently, and in that very city, a few children died because their parents refused to just take them to the doctor because they felt like that was violating their faith. That it wasn't. They needed to just pray instead.
Yeah.
You know, just this whole. Unfortunately, it's a side effect of a Ken Ham who insists that you have to deny all science to maintain this literal reading of Genesis, brought along with him all these other bad effects. And so, you know, I would much rather someone leave young Earth creationism for good reasons. That's a huge step, as opposed to like leaving the whole Christianity. That's actually less important to me, right? I feel like as long as a person's beliefs are well researched and for good personal reasons, so be it. Great.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's possible to hold on to young Earth creationism for evidenced reasons.
Yeah.
I don't think you don't hear of any. There's no secular young Earthers, right? So I just believe it's 6,000 years old, but I also don't believe in God. Like that, you don't find that animal. I would love to meet them.
Yeah.
So, so I in that way, I do think that the Ken Hams and like the ones that say that you will go to hell if you don't throw science away, are doing a special brand of harm that is in my wheelhouse to be able to pick away at.
Yeah.
So I do.